Hi, it's Tom from bkmnutrition.com, and today I want to talk about calorie deficits. Now, you've probably all heard what the calorie deficit, that you need to lose weight, but you might not be quite sure how to create one, what in fact a calorie deficit is, why do you need one, how would you go about creating it? Do you need a different one if you're a male or a female? Do you need a different one for your body type? Do you need a different one for your work? So today's video, we're going to go through what is a calorie deficit, how do you calculate one, how do you tailor it for your needs, and also some of the other mystical myths that go on when people talk about calorie deficits or telling you that you don't need one to burn body fat. So let's get started. So a calorie deficit, why do you need a calorie deficit? If you are looking to lose body fat, you need a calorie deficit. Now, you don't need a calorie deficit really if you're looking to lose weight. You can lose weight by a whole load of different things, by dropping water, by eating less food, by hormones being manipulated in the body, those sorts of things. But weight does not equal body fat. And most people who come to me for work, for me to work with them, want me to help them drop body fat. So first things first, you need a calorie deficit to drop body fat. You won't ever drop body fat if you don't have a calorie deficit. Now, what is that? That is where your food that you intake, so your calories in, is less than the energy that you expend. So that's your calories out. So you hear people talking about CICO or KICO, whatever you want to call it. It's CICO, that's calories in, calories out. And that's the equation you have to balance or tip in the favor of a negative in order to get a calorie deficit, which then tells the body that it needs to burn body fat in order to supply the energy that you need to move around and perform your daily activities. So how do you calculate a calorie deficit? Well, that's very, very easy. I have a calorie calculator. You can go to bkmnutrition.com/calculator, and then you've got a little tool there that you can input all the little bit details you need, and that will give you a calorie deficit calculator with a result and also some suggestions for calories you need to eat and the macros you might want to follow for that. Although a calorie deficit is not essential on macros, you do need just calories to lose weight, but certain macro splits can help with that. In terms of if you need a different calorie deficit, if you're a male or a female, now if you're a female, there is a slight difference to the calculation that you use to calculate calories than if you're a male. It's only a very slight variation, but you still do need a calorie deficit if you're a male or a female. What I've found with working with clients is that females do get a rougher time of it in terms of calories. They probably do need a higher calorie deficit than a male. That might be due to a lot of factors. Males generally tend to have more muscles, so they can potentially move more weight and increase their calorie expenditure out. Not to say that women don't train hard, because they do, and all my clients who are females all train very, very hard. I've just found that with females, you generally do need a little bit more of a harder time and a calorie push to get that body fat off. Also, why do we need a calorie deficit? So in terms of losing weight, like I said before, you don't need a calorie deficit to do that. You can do that by a lot of things, and people manipulate their weight all the time by stopping drinking water, or by if you take on more salt, you can gain more weight. People sit in sweatsuits all the time to drop weight for competitions, for boxing and for powerlifting and all those other competitions. I wouldn't recommend you do that, of course. All the times that I have worked with those sorts of athletes, we generally tend to do it by manipulating food, but that is a sort of a last ditch resort. So if you're looking to drop weight, you don't need a calorie deficit. If you're looking to drop body fat, then you do need a calorie deficit. Now, what happens is that during the day, you will use a certain amount of energy, and if you're not intaking the energy to replace that from food or drink, the body will have to go to its body fat stores in order to make up the difference. Now, that's a biological fact. You can't get around from that. And our bodies are always in flux through the day. So when you eat a meal, if you eat your breakfast or your lunch or your tea, what will happen after that meal is the body will store that food. Now, some of it will go into your muscles as glycogen, and some of it will get stored as body fat. Now, don't get worried, because it doesn't mean after a meal you go and just put all the weight on. That doesn't happen. But you will store some of your meals as a tiny amount of body fat. But then in the hours between eating, when you're not eating and the body has to burn energy, it will then release that body fat from the fat to use as energy. So your body is always in flux through the day. We're always burning fat, storing fat through the day. And what we're trying to do with creating a calorie deficit is to get an average where you are averaging a lower intake than expenditure. So in terms of that flux, we're always burning away a little bit more than what we're storing. So that's the idea, and this is why a daily calorie deficit is not so much of importance as a weekly and monthly calorie deficit. So when I'm working with clients, we have days where they eat more, they eat less. We're not too concerned about the fact that they've overeaten on the weekend, because if they've undereaten or eaten less Monday to Friday, on average of that week, you might be looking at a calorie deficit on average. So say we have 5 days of, say, 500 calories under, and then we have 2 days of 500 calories over our maintenance. That's actually a net of, let's see, 3 times 5, 1,500 calories through the week. So actually for that week, even though you've overeaten on the weekend, because of the week before you've undereaten and been in a deficit all week, then you're going to burn body fat on average. So you might gain a bit more weight after the weekend. However, on average, and you keep that going over the weeks, you will start to drop weight on average, and that means the body fat's dropping down. So you do need to measure how everything's going on a weekly and monthly basis, and not be too concerned that you've overeaten on one day. One day doesn't make a difference. You don't gain body fat in one day. You don't lose body fat as in all your fat or all your body fat in one day. So overeating on 1 day or 2 days a week is not that bad a thing if you've created a calorie deficit and you're monitoring that deficit over the course of the week or the month. And this is where I work with clients. We're never too concerned about daily. It's always about the week, the long term. And then when you're trying to measure your body weight as well, that's what you need to be doing, is measuring your body weight over the course of the week, not the day. I get clients to measure themselves every day, get on the scales every day. Oh, okay, that's what the figure is. We write it into a spreadsheet or a little notebook, but that's it. We're not too concerned about that daily figure. What we are concerned about is over the course of the weeks and the months, is that average daily figure dropping? So that's what we're looking at. And if you are in a calorie deficit, what will happen is on average, your body weight will start to come down. And so that's an indication, if we look at obviously how many calories we've intake, how much expenditure we've done from exercise, steps, that sort of thing, we can see if you are in fact in a calorie deficit long term, rather than, oh, I've just eaten less today, I've eaten more today. So that's calorie deficit in a nutshell. I just want to do a quick one on diet gurus who talk about calories don't matter. Well, you should not listen to those sorts of people, because they obviously have no idea what they're talking about. Calories do matter. It's a basic rule of thermodynamics, which I won't go into. It's complex physics and biology stuff, which I get bored of reading, and I'm sure you'll get bored of listening to. But basically, you cannot ignore the fact that if you put more energy into a system than what you take out, you will gain energy in terms of body fat. And if you put less energy into a system than what you take out, then of course you're going to have to burn some of your stores to accomplish that. That is a biological fact. And anybody who tells you they can hack your body or cheat your body or trick your body into burning body fat, you don't need to worry about calories, just eat some fat and we're on these ketone sticks to prove you're in body fat loss. Just don't listen to them. They're only trying to sell you their products. They're trying to sell you a scam. Don't listen to that. You always have to create a calorie deficit in order to lose body fat. The easiest way to do that is to use some sort of app like MyFitnessPal. Use a basic spreadsheet or a notebook to monitor your body weight, your calories in and your calories out from, say, your Fitbit or your MyZone monitor that I use. Monitor everything, and if over the average of the weeks to the months your body weight is going down and you can see that you've logged your calories in and they seem to be in a deficit from what you've calculated, well then you probably are in a calorie deficit. You're probably doing the right thing. So don't listen to people who tell you that calories don't matter. They absolutely do. Use my calorie calculator, bknutrition/calculator. Put that in now and you can calculate your calories for weight loss. If you've enjoyed this video, please do share it with people. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.